Hello! Welcome to a quick and dirty guide to Demon Hunters. We're going to be going over a lot. Uh, I won't go into super detail on everything. Obviously, I encourage a lot of self-research, and also if you have questions and you can't find the information, feel free to reach out to me in-game. Anyways, so we'll start off with the talents. Demon Hunters have basically two builds. Um, from 102 down to 110, it almost looks like this. It's identical across just about every single Demon Hunter. The only variations that you'll see is every now and then on 102, some folks will take Fel Barrage. It can work well in dungeons, especially Mythic Pluses and whatnot. But you have to have the right setup, and you have to remember it's a 1 minute cooldown. Trail of Ruin is always there, it's always available. It works really well with single target, so on and so forth. So you can take Fel Barrage and be a monster on the meters, but 9 out of 10 times you should be taking Trail of Ruin. Down on the 108 tier, you can also take Unleashed Power if you're doing a lot of more PvE content. Casters who need stunning, things like that in raids, and you don't have time to wait for your Fury to ramp up. You need to stop that cast right now for the raid. So a lot of times I'll take Unleashed Power in raid setups. For the most part, I stick with Fel Eruption because I do a lot of world PvP and whatnot, and I actually kind of like it for PvE a lot of times because it gives me 2 stuns. The only problem is, like I said, you have to generate the Fury, so sometimes you're panicking a little bit. Also at 104, Soul Rending is good throughout. Just if you stay on Soul Rending, you're fine. But every now and then I will switch over to Netherwalk for specific raid encounters and things like that. Like when we were doing Raw Den, perfect example. The black pools that we had to soak, I could soak 2. I didn't have to wait for my debuff to fall off. I could just activate Netherwalk and soak a second one. When everybody's panicking, oh, I've got the debuff, I don't know, I could just jump in, pop Netherwalk, take care of it. So that's the only variations on the lower talents. On the top talents, though, you either go Fellblade and Demon Blades, or you go Demonic Appetite and Immolation Aura. The Demonic Appetite Immolation Aura build is the more popular one, especially for PvE, I've seen. It'll generate a lot more Fury on demand because of Immolation Aura. It's a lot more dependable. You'll also get a lot of healing from Demonic Appetite. It's good. It's really good. There's nothing wrong with it. I personally, the way that I do my rotation, which you'll see later on, doesn't work for me very well. I don't like it. It doesn't feel right to me. But if you can make it work, if it feels okay to you, I highly recommend it. It's a great build, and you'll get a lot of distance out of it. Blind Fury and Insatiable Hunger, we're not even going to talk about them. You shouldn't be picking them. Don't do it. It's wrong. So the other one, my build, Fellblade Demon Blades, it's a bit more single target focused, and it's a bit more PvP orientated. That's why I originally went with it. I really like it because it takes Demon's Bite and Immolation Aura off your bars. Like, it's 2 less buttons than I have than the other Demon Hunters, so it makes my rotation a lot more simple. Also, Fellblade, it's a double-edged sword, but the positive is that it charges. It's a dash to your target. So if you have to move out of something and you want to get back to the boss quickly, or if you're PvPing and you're trying to get to your target, Fellblade is amazing, and it has a chance to Demon Blades has a chance to reset Fellblade. So you'll get Fellblade a lot, and you'll just dash to your target. It makes it really, really hard to not be on your target. You'll stick to them like glue. The negative side of this is if the boss is doing an AoE around himself or something that you don't want to be in, that you want to avoid, and you jump away and you accidentally hit Fellblade, you will charge right the fuck back in, and yeah, you got to be careful. I've gotten in trouble a few times. Okay, so that being said, that's the talents. It's pretty simple. If you are going to PvP talents, you want Rain from Above. no matter what. It's a great get out of harm if they're melee. It's also a crap ton of DPS. And it benefits from haste buffs. So if you have the Furious Gaze talent on your Azerite traits, which we'll go over, you can pop your I-beam and then rain from above, and you'll just be spamming those, and you can nuke somebody. I like to run Eye of Lathyrus. Not many people do. I find it wonderful for DPS casters. Either they kill themselves or they stop casting for 6 seconds, or somebody dispels them. But for the most part, they usually don't realize it's on them, especially in quick play or quick match battlegrounds and stuff like that. And I've seen a number of fire mages flat out just kill themselves. I also use reverse magic. I recommend putting in a weak aura so that you know when you can use it. I will go over that in another video at some point. Weak auras, that is. But reverse magic's really nice. It's also nice just out in the open world when you're doing world quests and stuff like that, because there are some mobs that will throw little dinky spells and shit on you, and you can just purge them off yourself. Not only that, not only does it purge them off yourself, but it also sends it back to the caster if it can. As far as other PvP talents, if you're going against melee, a lot melee heavy, you can go Glimpse. If you're trying to burn down a healer, you can take Mana Break. Remember, you do need 50 Fury for it. That's the only drawback, but it is really, really nice. I'll also go Detainment sometimes if I need to CC heavy and I'm worried about breaking it myself. Mana Rift is one of the #1 talents a Demon Hunter can use in PvP, but it's really difficult to set off because the area is very small and you have to have them stand in it for 2.5 seconds. So if you've got good CC and you can pop a Mana Rift under them, awesome. I can never get it to work. All the rest of the PvP talents really aren't worth talking about. Okay, so that's talents. We'll go over Azerite traits real fast. So basically what you want, that one, this one. You want Furious Gaze. You want Furious Gaze in all 3 of your Azerite armor pieces. I don't have that, but I'm working towards it. That's what you want, because after you pop I-beam, obviously, you'll get a ton of haste, which we love. We love versatility just ever so slightly more, but we also really love haste. So you want that in all 3 pieces if you can get it. You also want at least 1 of Thirsting Blades. I have 2. If you have more, that's fine, but you want at least 1. Elemental Whirl's really nice. Heed My Call is alright. But yeah, Elemental Whirl's extremely nice. Soulmonger will definitely help. You want at least 1 of those, if not multiple. Especially in raids and things like that, you'll get a lot of shielding. With that on top of our leech, and yeah, Demon Hunters survive through a lot. Revolving Blades, the more of those you can have, the better. It'll increase your blade dance, which if you have Trail of Ruin, awesome. If you're not using Trail of Ruin, Revolving Blades becomes less important. Eyes of Rage, really you only want to use Eyes of Rage when you're using the Immolation build. I have one. I always try to have at least 1 just to have it, because it does increase the DPS and it reduces the cooldown, but like I said, usually when you have Demonic Appetite Immolation build, that's when it actually becomes more important, and you almost want 2 or even 3 of them. You want at least 1 Chaotic Transformation. I know some people will run without them. I think it's a mandatory talent to have 1, because it'll change your opener and it'll make it extremely, extremely strong, which we'll go over later. As far as corruptions go, you want ineffable truth, which is that. Higher ranks obviously are better. You want at least 1 ineffable truth. You want infinite stars, and you want Twilight Devastation. Those are the 3 main ones that you want. Anything that increases your crit or haste or versatility is also nice. Yeah, and Obviously, of course, also balance your corruption if you need to look up a guide on how corruption works. Um, your base corruption versus your corruption resistance and whatnot. You want to balance that out and what you're willing to accept when you're going around the world. I don't like to have over 20 corruption because then I get those eyes that I have to avoid. I hate having an extra mechanic that I have to avoid. Some people don't mind the eye and they'll run, 39 corruption because at 40 it starts getting really dangerous. Um, yeah, so it's up to you. So rotation real quick. I spam rotate. I'm not a fancy player. I like spamming my rotation. There's a reason for this. I will do whatever I can. For example, when I go. By the way, if you need help with macros or weak auras, like I said, we'll try to do a video on weak auras later on. But if you need help with those types of things, just reach out. I'll give you a few tips. So macros, if you see here, I have a really simple cast sequence macro that's Immolation Aura, Demons Bite, Demons Bite, Demons Bite, and it resets back to Immolation Aura when it comes off cooldown. I have that because, like I said, when I go that other build, it adds buttons to my action bar. I don't want extra buttons. I want 3 buttons. So I have that macro to bring it down to 3 buttons. The reason I have 3 buttons is because my rotation is this. If you look at 1, 2, and 3, I am literally just spamming them. That's all I do. That's it. I just spam 1, 2, and 3. I do this on every melee class. Every class that I can. Tanking, DPS, whatever. Spam 1, 2, and 3. Now, to make this possible, some classes you can't do this. Like Demon Hunter, if you're not running Demon Blade and you have Demon Bite has no cooldown. And it has no resource. So if you're spamming the buttons, you can end up accidentally spamming Demon's Bite multiple times, and it'll eat up your global cooldowns when you should be pressing, Immolation Aura or Blade Dance or Chaos Strike or something. But instead, because you're spamming so fast, it's just hitting that Demon's Bite again and again and again, and it burns up your global cooldowns. The great thing here is Fellblade has a cooldown, Blade Dance has a cooldown, and Chaos Strike needs Fury. So they each have a condition that stops them from being cast and allows the others to be cast in their place. So if you see, Fellblade can't be cast, so it casts Blade Dance. Those 2 can't be cast, so it casts Chaos Strike. None of them can be, Fellblade reset. So you see what I mean? So they each individually make it so that the other one can be cast even though I'm spamming. The only problem with this is every now and then I will get in trouble and I will spend Fury and not have enough Fury for my shit. Hold on. There we go. I won't have enough for my I-beam. And I'll have to quickly panic because everything will be off cooldown. I'll panic and be like, oh no, I need I-beam. And so every now and then I'll have to delay I-beam by a few seconds. That's my only issue with the way I do my rotation. To each their own. So I do that. So that's why I have the talents I have. That's why. Anyways, stuttering here. The main benefit from this is since I spam my rotation, I don't have to pay attention to cooldowns. I don't have to pay attention to timers. I don't have to pay attention to resource. I don't have to worry, when my next immolation is coming. Do I have enough Fury for Chaos Strike? Should I Demon's Bite? I don't have to think about any of that. I'm just spamming my rotation, which is nice because then it allows me to look around. When we're in a raid situation and I'm DPSing, the crap out of the boss, I can kind of glance over, how are the healers doing? How's the tanks doing? Is there something? Oh, there's something coming in. I need to dodge it. Oh, I should move over here. I should position a little bit better. It also helps, obviously, in PvP. I can see that enemy player incoming. All those types of things. Because, remember, no matter what class you play, you should be aware of everyone else. I know it's difficult. I know there's a lot going on in raids, and a lot of people are really just focused on the rotation and where they're standing and what's going on with them. But the more you can be aware of others, the more you can help out. For instance, when we were doing Black Temple time walking the other day, uh, I was on Illidan. Let's say this is Illidan. I'm sitting here and I'm DPSing him, and the range was supposed to handle all of the little shadow fiends. Well, we don't want those shadow fiends reaching us. Every now and then, the range would get the range would get a little overwhelmed, and a shadow fiend would be drawing closer to us, about where this guy is. I would see that because of my rotation, because I'm looking around, and I would just turn real quick and hit a Fell Eruption on it, and just stun it in place real quick, and then go right back to DPSing Illidan. It takes half a second to click or tab over, stun it, back to Illidan. And then that really helped the range, finish that off. It didn't reach us. It's just nice. It's things like that that you need to be able to do to help out. I know people don't want to give their DPS. They want to be number one. They want to be the top of the meters. But those little instances where you help out will help the raid overall. And in the end, hopefully down the boss, which should be your ultimate goal. Not just being number one on the damage or healing meters or whatnot. So, that's why I do my rotation. That's Azerite traits, that's talents. Like I said, this is going to be quick and dirty. It's just the basics. There's a lot more stuff that we would have to go over if we were going in depth, such as gear. There's a lot of nuances with gear and whatnot. I just recently posted a guide into the WoW guides on how to use Simulation Craft, which SimC, you will see in the guide. You copy that, you can put it into Simulation Craft. It will simulate, it'll take care of everything. It'll give you a graph. It'll talk about your gear, your talents, which ones are better, which ones are worse. And then it'll also generate a pawn string for you, which you should have pawn. If you don't, go get it. And in pawn, you can have different weights. And what that'll do is it'll show up on your gear at the bottom here. You see where it says Havoc, PvP Havoc. And it'll tell you what's best, what's not best. It'll also tell you whether something's an upgrade. None of these are an upgrade, so it doesn't have an arrow on it, but you'll see a little green arrow and it'll say this is a 4% upgrade, 20% upgrade. Keep in mind though that I've noticed recently it does not take corruptions into effect, at least not passive corruptions. Active corruptions it will simulate, but passive corruptions it seems to have a problem with. So if you have two pieces of gear and it's telling you one is better than the other, but the other one has a passive corruption, it might still be better. Pawn might be wrong. You got to be real careful about all that stuff. And like I said, if you ever have any questions about any of this, feel free to hit me up. I run all tunes, especially Demon Hunter, this expansion obviously, and I'm more than happy to answer questions. That being said, let's see, did we go over everything? I think so. I think that's all the basics. Oh, as far as gear goes, this is your best in slot weapon. Comes from the Underrot. The higher version you can get of it, the better. So if you're looking for great weapons and things like that, that should be one of your number one goals. If you ever see anybody running a Mythic plus key in Underrot, go. Alright. Well, I hope this helps. Like I said, it's just quick and dirty. It's just kind of a starter guide to get you up and running and off the ground. If you have any questions, come and talk to me. Alright, guys. See you later.